Welcome to Yoobee Colleges, New Zealand's largest specialist creative and IT college. For over 30 years, we have been supplying the IT and creative industries with specialist filmmakers, animators, designers and developers. Come with us as we explore the range of careers available to you as a Yoobee student.
Yoobee is a great place to study animation because we're really conscious of the fact that every student is on their own creative journey. It's one of our big goals to treat anybody who enrolls not just as a student, but as a creative professional. So we've got a number of sort of pathway options available for any prospective student. Those range from programs starting at the diploma level or on our bachelor program as well. So the difference between the diplomas and the bachelors is the diplomas get you work ready within 2 years. So we have a level 5 and a level 6 set of programs that get you all the technical skills you'll need in that kind of professional environment to get you there as fast as possible. It's our expectation that once you graduate from those programs, you're ready for work. In the bachelor, you'll spend more time delving into the academic process, and that's just in addition to the technical skills you'll need to learn. As a student, when you're in the classroom, you're engaged as much as possible in making animation, and making animations, combines all sorts of skills. So whether that's storyboarding, whether that's concept design, whether that's, actual key animation, all of that happens within our classrooms. And it's our wish that when you come into the classroom, come in one way, and you come out having learned something and being another way. That's the interesting transformative power of learning. So recently we've had graduates go off to a company called Cinco Cine, which does a lot of kids' TV and animation, which is awesome. We've had graduates go to Makpari and Yakfu as well, which is some of the, Yakfu is one of the leading ad agencies in New Zealand, and Makpari is one of our, great homegrown animation studios. Really cool success story. We've also had students go off and start their own animation studios as well. So, it's not just only getting into the industry, it's about forging your own creative path as well. Because when students come into animation, it's mostly for a love of animation. They don't necessarily always have the end goal in sight. It's our job to, foster all of that, love within them for the subject matter and turn that into something that they can really utilize as a career.
Our design package has 3 different courses or programs. You can start with Creative Digital Media in level 4, and it's a great chance to sort of find out what kind of creative you want to be, whether it's an illustrator or an animator. Once you decide on your path, you can move up to our level 5 Web and Graphics program, where we give you about 50% graphic design and 50% web and user experience. And whilst it's not as in-depth as level 6, it gives you the core fundamental skills to choose your path for further study. Once you move on to our level 6 programs, you can really focus on what you want to be when you leave here. So you can focus on your logo design skills if you've always liked logos. You can be creating portfolios that show your illustration skills if you love anime. Or if you want, you can move on to our web programs after that. The way that we teach here at Yoobee is in relatively small classrooms. You can have anywhere up to about 22 or 23 students in a classroom with one tutor. And what we try to do is make our sessions really fun and engaging. So whilst you'll be playing in the software and having tutorials, there's also a chance to interact with other students and staff members where you can get feedback on your work. We do sort of group presentations, and there's a lot of teamwork that goes on. But what we try to do is, work really hard towards our creative goals, but we try to have fun while we do it. So some classes might have dress-up days. We take Halloween really seriously here, so that's a lot of fun. And we also have a lot of different cultural events like Matariki, where we sort of celebrate Māori culture, and also different language weeks, like recently we had Samoan Language Week. So we sort of try to encompass all different backgrounds here at Yoobee. Some places that our graduates have gotten jobs and that stick in my mind is we had a rugby fan, and we used to talk about rugby all the time, and he moved over to London and he ended up getting a job working for advertising with Manchester United, the famous football team. And he posted a photo on our Facebook group showing himself wearing a football jersey, and he was a little bit disappointed because he was just die-hard rugby. Another story that comes to mind is a graduate who sort of went out on her own. She was traveling around the French Alps in a camper van, and she started to write a travel blog which got picked up by an international travel agency for female students. and she ended up being a freelance designer for them while she was traveling around and sort of snowboarding at the same time. Whenever we share that story, we sort of see the students' eyes light up and they think, wow, that could be me.
Video and filmmaking is a really large and growing area for work and play, and we cater to as much of that as possible. It's an ever-evolving field. We've had graduates go into film production, like in the production side, so working as assistant directors, producers, editors, camera people, directors, and then we've had people starting up their own web series, successful vlogging. I think Yoobee's a good place to study film because we do things in a very hands-on way. It's a hands-on field that we are putting students towards. It's all well and good to know what a house is, but if you don't know how to build it, you're not going to be a builder. So the same goes for film. Having the opportunity to actually do those things for real, try things out, make mistakes when there's less risk is really, really important to the learning process. We teach it across multiple campuses, including our South Seas campus, and you can specialise in more traditional film production, but also video itself is becoming one of the most important mediums for communication in the world, and we're trying to be at the cutting edge of that. There's so much opportunity, and our courses, even if they're directed specifically towards that, still provide you enough information that you could then transition that into a different area of film or video production. There are so many jobs out there now that aren't necessarily video jobs that have a big video component, so there's just great opportunity to go into almost anything. Video is becoming so important now that people with a good hands-on knowledge of this stuff are at a huge advantage in almost any field these days. Part of the way that we approach teaching at Yoobee is we don't necessarily tell you what to make. We try to help you make the things you want to make and tell you how you can make that, rather than saying you need to make this thing. It's like, what do you want to do? Okay, this is how you can go about doing it. These are the skills that you want to work for that. We try not to be prescriptivist about what students can make. We want them to bring their own ideas, and then we help them realize those ideas, and teach them the skills that can get them to create the things that are interesting to them. Because a horror film has similar techniques to a commercial, but they're just different ways of approaching it. And we try not to limit our students. We want them to develop as artists as well as skilled technicians as well. So it's kind of a holistic approach in many ways, but also a very student-focused, developing their creative ideas.
Within the Web UX course, we study a lot of different technologies, and we give students the time to figure out which ones they actually like. And what that does is that means at the end, students can choose a number of different pathways to go on. We teach full stack development. So the advantages of that for the student are that they gain a more thorough understanding of what's really going on in a web page or in an application. They have more career paths that they can choose. Students have the time to decide if they actually like full stack, or they would rather just concentrate on the front end, or perhaps concentrate more on UX. We give the students quite a lot of freedom to do their own thing. We try and be flexible because we know that if you are working on a project that you like, your work is going to be much, much better. And as a tutor, I recognise that, and I try to encourage it, while at the same time explaining technical concepts to you to improve the way your project works. At Yoobee, the class sizes are very small. It's not like being in a large lecture theatre. It's more that your tutor is always moving around the class, always visiting you, having a look at your projects, having a look at how things are going, and trying to solve any technical problems that you might have. The idea is that you work on something close to real projects. So in that sense, we don't send you away to read books or to write essays. You do the real thing. And all that gives you a flavour of how work might be in your first few years out in the real world. So some of our recent graduates at Yoobee are now full stack developers. We have a couple of front-end developers and some UX developers as well, and also quite a number of people have gone into the digital marketing area, which is a big area for our grads now. What I like most is to see students produce eye-popping work, things moving across the screen. It's the kind of thing that employers are impressed by and that other people can look at and go, wow, how did you do that?